There we go. Okay, perfect. So we are going to be talking about providing feedback in Canvas today, but I'm going to give people a moment to join before we get started. Make sure you get that NESIS code. And I wanted to show you this in Canvas. So I believe Jake, it was last week, did a teacher connect on this. It's just something you might want to consider doing. It just makes adding content in Canvas easier, and that is updating to the new rich content editor. So if you go into Canvas to edit a page and it looks like this still, this is the old editor and it will be going away in January. And in this, I don't know, it's a little clunky to me in that it looks like if you're going to add, let's say, a slide deck or a doc from your drive that you would click here. But this is the way Canvas did it. So they have partnered now with Google, and the seamless way where you don't get any login errors or get in that loop is to hit the drop down arrow. Just not gonna let them in. Is to hit this drop down arrow and actually select Google Drive LTI down here. This is the updated way. So if you haven't switched over to the new rich content editor, you should really consider doing that. It looks like this is a little bit more updated. And now when you select your Google Drive here, that is the right icon. So they've made some updates that's a little bit smoother switching that. So for y'all just joining, I just wanted to share a little tip that was done in our last Teacher Connect, and you can find those here at our YouTube channel at this bit.ly/diff.
Can I ask a question?
Yes. No, you're good.
Since there's the rich content editor switching over, we've been using the old one. Will the switch mess up what we've already, our pages? Will it mess up our pages?
No, so actually within, like, so let me, I'll go to one real quick live for you to see. So in your courses, it doesn't change anything within the page already. It would just change maybe how you add it later on. So let me go, like, for example, don't judge this course. It was the very first one I created when I was learning Canvas, right? So I haven't changed this one. So in here, when I click edit, you see, oh, no, I did. I'm sorry, I changed it last time. Let me go turn it off real quick. I'm sorry, in that last PD, I forgot to set it back. So you can toggle this on, and it doesn't change like that page. It still looks the same when I click edit now. You see now that's the old content editor, and I would just go in and click and start typing, right? And if I go now and go back to settings and then feature options and turn this back on, I can toggle it on and off. The only thing that it changes is that part at the top here, you know, with how you will add content. So now if I'm going to insert a video or an image or a table, all that stuff is kind of more like the updated form of docs and stuff. So everything is still there from the old rich content editor to this one. It's all still the same. You can still add the same things. It just looks a little updated, but it does not change any of your assignments or your pages or anything you've already added. And also, if I turn it on, or if you turn it on as the teacher in your course, it doesn't change it for your students. So you're just changing your user settings, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Thank
Cool.
you.
So that was just something while we were waiting for people. I just wanted to encourage you to go ahead and make that change. It will happen for you naturally in January, but it is, it's just so much smoother adding images and adding things from your drive. Like, so if you were adding a slide deck using this, occasionally a student will say, like, I can't access it. It keeps asking me to log in, and we call it the login loop. And there's some steps, like 3 things to do to get past it. But if you'll go ahead and, if you're using the old one, do the drop down and click that Google Drive, or in this one, if you'll go ahead and use that, that does add things. It's Google's way of doing it. They've actually merged here. So it just makes it a little bit easier. And I wanted to share that as like a little thing that would just might make life easier before we get started. So we're going to go ahead and talk about feedback in Canvas. I want you guys to talk. Oops, let me put this in so I'm not hitting that microphone. I'm sorry. I want you guys to, we're going to talk about how giving feedback, how that can lead to student growth, like how we word that and how it takes it back to the learning target. So when we give feedback, we want it to be more than, you know, like good job. We want to make sure we're doing it in a way that students are revising and growing in our content. And I want you guys to be confident at the end of this session. So whether you're giving feedback in Canvas on online submissions, or if you're doing it with Google assignments, I'm going to show you both of those ways to assign and give feedback. And I want you guys to be confident and not only you giving feedback, but be confident in how your students are going to go find that feedback and then revise that work. And then think about what that revision workflow looks like in your classroom. So how are you going to get kids back once you leave feedback? How are you going to get them to go back and revise? So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And to get started, I want to talk about, like, you guys are working so hard. You guys are providing instruction in Canvas. You are also providing instructions face-to-face with your kids or face-to-face on Zoom. So you guys are doing a lot of work in the way that teaching and learning has happened today. And then you want to make sure that students are still growing. Like, if you're doing all that work, you want your kids to be growing in your content. So let's talk about some things that can happen in between there. And because you guys signed up for or came to the feedback PD, you knew that that was going to be part of the answer in between the instruction that you're designing and student growth, giving kids feedback. But it's not just the feedback, but it's feedback that drives revision and gets them interacting with that work multiple times is how you're going to get kids to grow. So let's talk about what that looks like in Canvas. And first is the way you guys design instruction. I mean, you guys are posting videos, using images, getting kids to read. I mean, you guys figure out ways for kids to learn, and you're posting that stuff in Canvas, or you're providing that face-to-face in the classroom, teaching the kids your content. So real quick before we get started, I always like to share and we learn from each other. So I want to talk about, think about what structures you have in place so that kids know what to do or where to start learning in your class every day. So this is what I'm talking about, getting instruction. Like, think about what you tell your kids, what is on your homepage. So here I have a teacher view, and you can see all these, I don't let the kids see these. So this is the teacher view. And then when the kid comes in, what do they see on your homepage, or how do you tell the kids where to go to start learning in your class? And if you guys can throw that in the chat real quick, just some things that you have in place so that students know what to do or where to start learning in your class. Throw that in the chat for me real quick. Don't be shy. I know you guys are doing some awesome things. So think about, what do you tell your kids on getting started? And some things that I have seen. Let me show you real quick in the dashboard some really innovative ways teachers have added things to their classroom. I go to my playground. So one thing that I've seen teachers update what they call their virtual classroom, and on the board here they have like a text box where they can have the learning target and what the kids are going to be doing. Other teachers have added a calendar of tasks, and each day, so if I click on today's Friday, it takes me to an agenda for the day. So this student would know, okay, I'm about to learn about sales, and that looks like I'm going to read and watch a video and then maybe do a discussion and an assignment. And as they click through, that daily checklist tells them, okay, there's that video and text, there's my discussion, I did that, and okay, there's my assignment. And then sure enough, that's it for the 3 days. And there's my next checklist. So I know I'm finished for today. So that's how some teachers have tackled it. Others decide to take them to the module view, right? So when I click on this, I might not have kids. So this is the module we're going to be talking about today with feedback. So for this one, I might not have a daily thing. So what we're looking at here is that's that introduction with text and a video. Here is our discussion, and that's that Google Draw where they're labeling stuff, right? And then I have them, I use this header to say complete one of the following. So they're going to pick out of these three which one to do, and what that's going to do is give me as the teacher time to provide feedback on this Google Draw. And you see I have them revisiting and revising that. So we're going to talk about that workflow and what that looks like, but I kind of wanted to let you see the module that we're going to be looking at. So introduction to the content, an activity, choice. I'm asking them to revisit and revise this. And then we're going to do a little project, and I also have some revisions to the project. So we'll talk about that. So some teachers take them to the module view. Some teachers take them to that start page for the day. No right or wrong, just thinking about what structure. So when a kid logs into your homepage, as we're on the phone with parents and and students. It's just super helpful on that homepage if you have something in place, some structure where the kids know to start learning. And I have a link to the module where students can click on to find the day's work. Oh, that's perfect. And the module having learning targets and standards, letting kids know, click here, this is where I start. That just makes that workflow a little bit easier. Thank you so much for sharing. So those are structures so that kids know where to go when you're getting a class. So that instruction is really important, and you guys are designing all kinds. I see awesome bell ringer with learning targets. Oh, that's great to get the bell ringer to get them engaged with the content. Face-to-face teacher wrote days are independent practice. Awesome. So this will give kids time and you time. So I hope you like this workflow today. So we've talked about the instruction. You guys are posting videos, text, face-to-face, on Zoom, all kinds of ways that you guys are innovative to instruct. And then you guys develop practice. So these are the assignments that you're having kids doing to learn that content. And that practice is in a variety of ways. A lot of it's probably hosted on Canvas where they're turning things into you. But that practice, we want to be tightly aligned to our learning targets. So when we get that product, we know exactly where our kids are in relation to that standard. So let's look at some online assignment types in Canvas. And again, you'll see our Teacher Connect. I believe Shauna did one. So if you want to talk about or look a little bit deeper at the type of online options like text, website, media, and file uploads, and really think about my activity I have designed in my student product. What are my kids going to be turning into me? And that's what I will check off so that I can not necessarily you want to limit your products maybe for feedback, but you also want to give kids choice. So it's a fine little balance. So she goes into greater detail, but I've got like a text entry here would be an individual response from a student. So let's say it's an essential question, or maybe what is the main idea of a passage, and they can type that answer in. And then you have to balance, do I want this to be the text entry, or is this something I want them to discuss in an online discussion and maybe interact with their peers? So depending on their outcome will depend on if I want this text entry or a discussion. The website URL might be like later on in this module we're looking at today. I'm asking kids to write a campaign speech. So I don't need to give them a template of a blank Google Doc, right? They can open up their own Google Doc, set the permissions, and share that link with me to their article if they would like. Media recordings would be for audio or video recording if your kids want to record their voice or their face. And then a file upload, like I'm having them design a poster. So I said, hey, you can go to Google Draw, and that might be just sharing that URL. Or you might go design in Canva, and they might download and need to upload that file to me. But whatever you pick, know that on the students' ends, you see all these options as well, right? So we don't want our kids to be overwhelmed. So if you can really think about what that product looks like and limit some of these choices for kids, I'm not saying remove choices, I'm just saying limit those choices. It helps you and them in your workflow. So I tried to color code this because it was a little overwhelming the first time I started digging into all this, right? So that text entry, you see right here, that color coded versus a website URL. So when I click the website URL, you see all these pinks? It opens up this box, it opens up these two, and the Google Drive down here, which I'm like, oh, that's a little much, but that will be streamlined. Remember, I told you Google's done some updating. I mean, Canvas has done some updating with Google. So some of these, like the Google Drive multiple times, will go away, and that will be a little bit easier. So let's take a look here. Let's say we are doing that answering an essential question. Right, so I want my kids to answer that essential question for the day. I can check text entry and media recordings, and my kids can either type it out, record their face, or record their voice. And so I'm still giving them some choice, right? But I'm still limiting my products that I'm going through as well. So that's one way you can limit that and decide what your kids are turning in, which will then determine where you leave feedback, okay? So let's pause for a minute and think, how do students know where to find your assignment? So earlier we were talking about instruction, like where do they go to get the material to learn for the day? Now think about, where do students go in your class to find their assignments? Is that in the module? Do they click on assignments? Do you want them to see content first? So if you send them to the module, do you have it where they need to go through and watch a video or read before they go to assignment? Or can they click on assignments like right here and go straight there? So if you don't mind, throw that in the chat. No right or wrong. It's just always nice for educators to see how other people are doing it and what's working for them. So if you ladies Grady's right, yes. Can add that to the chat. What do you do, or how do students know where to find your assignments for the day? So first was instruction, now assignments. And do you have them look at content first? Share your thoughts on that. And again, some of that will be what you guys have open here, right? So do you care if the student clicks on assignment view? Sorry. Or can they go straight to your assignment list? And again, in those assignments, you want to make sure that those the tasks that you're asking your kids are aligned to that learning target, because whatever product you get is going to give you data on that student. Perfect. I see someone saying teaching from the module. You want the students to follow along with you, look at content, and then they go do their work. Perfect. So that's right. So she's saying that she does have her module view. So some teachers don't. They don't have modules open for kids to come in. Some teachers choose not to have assignments open. Again, no right or wrong, but she has the module up and she teaches through the module, and then the kids go do the work. And then the work that they're doing, hopefully it's the products are tightly aligned, that task is tightly aligned to that learning target. So now when the kids are doing work, it tells me exactly what learning target they're struggling with. And that helps me give them feedback, right? I can formulate my feedback so that they can reach that target. Because what we want them to do is interact with this again. When they go back and make revisions to their work and interact with that assignment in kind of like layers. They're digging deeper every time. And that feedback that drives revision is what leads to student growth. And so I found this quote and I really love it. Effective feedback is not praise or criticism. And I know like we've all done this thing, where you're trying to give feedback to someone and you do this sandwich with like, good, I noticed the good things, and have you ever considered in a positive again? I mean, you try to be as pleasant as possible when giving feedback, because you don't want it to be just a good job, and you don't want them to feel like let down after you give it to them, but you want to choose this language that will give them an action that they can go back and revise it, because when they go back and do those actions and revise, that's what sends the learner forward, and that's how we get growth. So in Canvas, you're going to be given feedback two ways. So the first one is on online submissions, and that is where feedback is left within SpeedGrader. So look up here at the top. This is a student has submitted a slide deck. So up here I can tell, I see the slide deck, and this up here is my naming. So what this was I had a file upload open for this student, and they submitted this file from their Google Drive, that LTI I was showing you. So they went to their Google Drive, they found this slide deck, and what Canvas does is it takes kind of like a snapshot, a picture of a moment in time, and it sends you as a teacher that snapshot. And what you see in here, right, you see the yellow up here, I can highlight and add comments. I can draw on this and add comments. And then over here on the side, I can leave overall feedback. And you see the audio, so you can also add a video. So that's within SpeedGrader. And when a student goes back in, you see how it says resubmit. So that's how they know they've submitted that assignment, and they can see the feedback there. Okay, so let's go take a look at that live in Canvas. So what we're at here, we've got our, remember, this is our introduction, getting them to do a discussion and their first labeling activity. Then they're practicing. And so down here at the campaign speech, I have set up an assignment where they're going to answer in a text box. So let me open this up so you can see it. right? So it's an online submission, and I said you can either do a text entry or you can do a file upload, like if you had that slide deck that we were just looking at. So I limited that. And then let's go look at some student responses. Right, so when I go in SpeedGrader, and I don't know if you noticed that, all I did was click right here to get to SpeedGrader. There's so many ways to get this. I'll show you a handful. So SpeedGrader opens this up, and now I can see all of my submissions. So I see Kermit and Clark submitted this, and let me get that off the screen. And I don't know if you noticed when we were looking at that, but I made a rubric. So let me show you how cool grading is with this rubric. If I open up the rubric, you see how it lets me leave this student so I can say, oh, he did that. Nope. Right? You can use this over here and use your rubric to actually give them, look at that, give them that grade. And then I can leave a comment. Go back, da-da-da, great job, you know, but then use my rubric to guide my responses, right? Or I could record that and then click submit and it goes back to that student. So let me show you, I did that for Clark already. You can see when I pull his up, I have already used the rubric to grade him, right? And I sent him back some feedback for him to go back and revise it. So let me show you what that looks like. So as a teacher, you've left the feedback in SpeedGrader. Let's go see what that looks like for that student. Oops, I'm so sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm going to show you how it looks for the student, but I want to show you Google assignments first. Sorry. So once you leave the feedback, I'm going to show you the grades tab will be where he notices that work. And let me also go back in the module. So that was Google assignment, right? Let me go back so you can tell the difference because it took me a couple of times interacting with these to tell the difference. So Google assignment, it's an online submission. And you can pick any of these, but you're going to grade it within SpeedGrader, okay? So you saw where I was on the page and I could get there on the left-hand side will take me to grade the assignments, or you can go to your grade tab and you see the work here. There's that same campaign speech here. I can click on individual responses and go grade them. And I want you to notice it's green here. I don't know if you have seen this yet, but if you go to view and statuses, but it lets me know that green tells me it's been resubmitted. So that's that one we were just looking at. I've already given it a grade, but the student has resubmitted it and I need to go back and check it again. So those color codes really do help you. Let me show you that again, view and statuses, and it lets you know what all those colors are for. Another great thing to do in here, if I didn't have this narrowed down, the grade book has so many assignments. So you can also go to view and in your filters, check modules. And if you'll notice here, these are all the modules in here, but I only am looking at this one for feedback today. So it doesn't get overwhelming. Narrow your grade book down by these filters too, and it just cuts your assignments down. So this is the one we were just looking at, the online submission, but look what happens with this Google assignment. If I'm in the grade book and I click on this student's work, oh, and I remember people saying like, I can't see the work. And we're like, what in the world? So this is the difference with the Google assignment. So you don't get the preview here, which I know can be seem a little frustrating, but then I just worked my workflow. Instead of clicking on individuals here, I click on the part at the top and it takes me to that assignment page where I can either click here to start grading or click in SpeedGrader. So let me show you that both ways. Here's with the Google assignment, and let me go back to grades. Clicking at the top on the name of that speech at the top, right? It takes you to that page and then you can click SpeedGrader. So that's the easiest way that I tell to get my student work. So let me go in, got ahead of myself here, I apologize. So we looked at creating an online submission, right? That's that text box, media, file upload. Those are our online submissions. Feedback is left within SpeedGrader. And then there's these Google items. So if you are wanting to share a template with your students, like a Google Draw or a slide deck, so if you have that template and you want to give it to your students where everybody gets a copy, you want to be using the Google assignments, not the cloud assignments, right? The cloud assignments were getting login loop errors, but the Google assignments was made by Google working with Canvas, so that fixed those solutions. So let me show you the difference really quick. We're going to go in assignments, and I want to add an assignment, and I'm going to call this feedback Google assignment. And I would add my introductions here. Please don't forget to give your kids instructions, not introductions, what to do. So remember a second ago, we went to online submission, right? And we did the file uploads, text entry. That's the one we saw in Gradebook. But if I want to give my kids a Google template, like a Google Draw or a slide deck, you want to go to External Tool, Find, and not this one, not the cloud assignment, okay? We want to do the Google assignments, all that LTI 1.3 Google assignments. This is the way to do it. Confirm your account. And now you see it looks a lot like Google Classroom, where you attach that slide deck or that Google Draw. And it says each kid will get a copy, and you set your due dates and stuff here. And now we're in that where every kid gets a copy, and this is where I will set my due date, come back to give them feedback here. So that's the two differences. If you want to do a Google template, you will come to this page right here to give feedback. If it is an online submission, you will need to go to your grades and give that grade through SpeedGrader. So that's the two things I really had to work through with my workflow to kind of get my mind wrapped around that. So let me go back to these cell parts so you can take a look at that. So you see I've got my instructions, tell my kids you got a Google Draw, and I need you to go through those 5 components. So let's take a look at Clark's work here. And you see this is just our familiar, this looks just like Google Classroom. It's a live document here, whereas the other version gives us a snapshot in the moment. So now you can see the kids as they're working, right? And in this design, I did a couple of things around the edge here, like a video. I'm sending them to Flipgrid. I do have a Google form, but what I really want them to do is fill this out here. So all these things around the edge, I'm not necessarily grading those. Those are not going in my grade book. It's things, it's experiences to get them to learn so that they can do this part in the center. And then I'm leaving them feedback so you can see if you click on things inside, you can leave them a comment just like you would regularly in our Google Docs, right? And then your overall feedback goes on the side for your students to see. Okay, so 2 ways to give feedback: online submissions in SpeedGrader, and if you're doing a Google template, that will be in Google Assignments. And then you've got to teach the kids that workflow, right? So like now, once you've edited assignments, how do they know to go back to it? So the first thing I'm going to say is enable that grade tab. Let me show you what that looks like. It doesn't look like grades like we see. Right here, you see the grades tab. When you have that turned on, they get this little notification right here that says, oh, someone's left me feedback. And when you click on that, you see that blue dot? That's the one notification for feedback that they haven't read yet. So there's a lot of good things in here. You can see the kid can sort by their course that they're in. That's the new feedback icon. You see due dates, status as if I've done it, missing, late, the score, and right here, the little feedback icon. So a grades, you might want to add that to your left-hand side here, and teach kids how to use that to go back in and edit and revise their work. Second thing I would suggest doing is hyperlink back to the activity in your module. So even though that grades tab there is let them know I need feedback, add it in there and send them back and say, read my revisions and revise your work. So let me show you what that looks like, right? So this is that same module we've been in. You've got our introduction, discussion, and this Google Draw. So my kids are working on that, and as they finish, they go work on completing one of the following. What that does is give me time as a teacher to leave feedback, because when kids finish this optional work down here, or the complete one of the following, I have a place here where it says revisit and revise your cell. And when the kids get to that page, what they see is saying, go back and take a look at that cell diagram and make revisions based on that feedback. And when they click here to go back to that assignment page, you see where it takes Clark? Right here, this is what it looks like for the student. So for the teacher on that Google page, we see all of the students' work, but the students here just see their work, and Clark can see, okay, she left me 3 comments inside my document, and over here at the bottom is my overall feedback. So then the kids can go back and revise. So let me show you real quick how easy that is to link back out. So let me go in here to modules. And we're going to go to this revisit and revise page, right? Super simple text, go back and take a look. So I'm going to edit this. Notice my new rich content editor. Make sure you turn yours on. And I'm going to remove this link real quick. Okay, so this is saying go back, take a look, make revisions. So I'm going to highlight here, and you want to go right here to your link. And we're going to send to a course link. So we've probably been used to hyperlinking to a YouTube video or a Flipgrid, hyperlinking out, but you can also hyperlink to things inside your course. You can send them anywhere in here. I love this. You can send them to other pages if they need to relook at content. But here I'm going to send them to an assignment page. You can send them anywhere. Go back and look at that discussion. Go respond to other people. You can hyperlink back, but here's an assignment. And you see why naming matters and really helps, because now I can go back to all my feedback. There it is. So I'm saying I want you to go back to that page within Canvas and save that. And now it will send students to that page. So again, you as the teacher, you would see all of your students, but Clark would only see his, and when he clicks on it, he could see his work. So that's another little tip. Hyperlink, give them a spot in your module where you're saying, hey, go back and look at this and make some revisions. And that just teaches your students that workflow. So we've looked at 2 different types. So if you were sending kids back to that page, here's that Google assignment. So when they go back, you can see what they see. Here is what they see. If you're sending them back, you're hyperlinking to a online submission. So it takes them back to that page. They see the rubric. They see that they've submitted work. They can click to look at the evaluation. They can click and look at their details and your feedback in there. So both ways work. It's just one of them is within SpeedGrader, one of them is within the Google assignment page. So you just have to kind of teach your kids that workflow of where to find things. So any questions before we start to wrap up? Did I do anything too fast? Do I need to go through real quick the difference between, are you guys comfortable with the difference between a Google assignment like the Google Draw here versus an assignment like a speech or something where they're just going to be doing a text box and an online submission? Do I need to walk through either one of those or set either one of those up so you can see the difference? Good. Okay, perfect. So getting in that, let's putting it all back together. So you're designing instruction face-to-face and putting videos and text on Canvas so your kids get some instruction and learning in Canvas. And that's also nice, like even if you're face-to-face or if kids are at home, kids have everything they need to get working, and you can start pulling small groups and really help those kids where they need, especially when you're thinking about that practice, right? And feedback, you can give feedback in Canvas, you can give feedback in your small group, but that feedback needs to drive revision. Get them interacting with that work again. So you don't necessarily need a handful of assignments. These kids aren't doing a ton. They don't need to draw a cell, label a cell, build a cell. They don't have to do all that to learn the cell, right? It's just going back and reworking that same thing until we get it right. That's how we lead to student growth. So we have covered a ton today, even outside of our necessary objectives. So first with that, if you need help with that workflow, like thinking about how things go in your class, what structures you have in place. If you want help with that workflow or hyperlinking, you see my email here. Shoot me an email and I will be glad to help you come up with what workflow would work for you and your kids. And speaking of Canvas structures, today you may have said like, oh, I do have some structures in place, but I really like the calendar, or maybe I want to make my structures a little bit more solid so that we can get in that feedback workflow. If that's the case, please reach out. I'll be happy to brainstorm some things, whether it's on the structures, or you may say, I want some activity design. Let me get my virtual background right where you can see that. I might need help with some activity design from my learning target here, and I want to design activities that my kids can interact with multiple times. If you would like to brainstorm any of those ideas, please don't hesitate to reach out to me or the team. I also have a note here for Google Assignments. Jake has a wonderful video on Google Assignments. I'm about to throw that in the chat for you guys. So what it lets you see is setting up that Google assignment. It's not the cloud assignment. Where's the chat? There it is. It's not the cloud assignment. This is the one where everybody gets a copy and it gets rid of those sign-in errors. So here's a video Jake made. It shows the teacher and the student view from setup to submitting work. It's about 11 minutes, but it's a super informative video. So I just put that in the chat for you guys. And then I've mentioned a couple of times Teacher Connects that we've done, like whether it's on assignment submission types or just a handful of the new rich content editor. So I'm going to also send you our bit.ly to Diff TV so that you can go back to YouTube. So please feel free to reach out to me, S. Roberts, or the team at DTIF. Please also share this information with your students and parents. So we are available Monday through Thursday until 6. You can call us, you can email us, you can do hangout chats. So please share that with other teachers and students. We're here to support you guys, and don't hesitate to reach out as you are working with this workflow. I know the semester's coming to an end, but you don't want to jump in and start giving your kids this feedback to start revising. You might have to start with easy things like just simple comments, just to get the kids to know to go back here and to respond to you. So it's a build up, and it's teaching them how to get that workflow and how to get back to there. So thank you guys for joining me this Friday, and I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. I'll be hanging out here for a little bit if you have any questions, but I sure do appreciate you joining. Thanks, y'all. And don't forget to log in Nieces or sign up in Nieces for your credits.